This is Margaret Kuhlman of soulastrology.com. The new moon this month is in Sagittarius. The thought that occurs to me first is that Sagittarius does not necessarily understand. It has an intuitive grasp, and with the sun representing our centre, the essential truth, and the moon reflecting that onto the earth, into our everyday experience, we're not talking about mental ability of the logical kind. The aspect of mind that this represents is that which grasps an entire idea, three-dimensionally as it were, and more, and then has to work out how to put this into sentences. Sagittarius is represented by the centaur, half human, half animal, and I feel our task as human beings, actually, but perhaps particularly when there's a Sagittarian emphasis, is to blend these two aspects of our own nature into a totality, rather than holding them apart by our judgments, our fears, our guilts about the animal side. The animal is fine. I've said a fair bit more about that in my letter that you'll find on my website eventually. But the essence of blending those two is to be able to encompass the beauty of totality, a massive sense of oneness, while being occupied with the tiny little pieces of our everyday life, from getting dressed in the morning, cleaning teeth, handling food, whatever small thing we do, doing up one button on the coat. Sagittarius is the understanding, in the broad sense, that the button and the fingers and the action in that moment of focus is the same as everything else. Trying to work out how it's the same is the mental activity of the logical side of the brain. And because I'm having to speak in sentences where one word follows another in a kind of hopefully logical sequence, means that it's the logical side of the brain that will be reading or hearing me. Sagittarius is the grasper of the whole idea that is being pointed at by my words, without needing proof, logic, but rather being able to match that sense of greater, broader understanding with one's own experience. It is really what enlightenment is about. It's enlightening the everyday experience. So that to say Sagittarius understands the bigger picture is not necessarily to a thinking mind the truth of it. One might say Sagittarius grasps the bigger picture and knows intuitively that they are within it. They are an expression of it. We are. Perhaps it's the trine aspect from the sun and moon in Sagittarius towards Uranus that is actually causing me to talk at such length about this idea. But there is also a square relationship from the sun-moon to Chiron, and Chiron is very close now to that sextile to Pluto. Chiron in Pisces is going to be about the healing of the world, the whole of humanity, but also about humanity's suffering, which is what needs healing. And Pluto is ensuring that we go as deep as we can go. The fact that it's at right angles to the Sagittarian new moon suggests that it's difficult at this time to hold these positive and upgoing ideas in the face of the suffering that we see or hear about. So this month is going to be very important that we go to the heart of ourselves and let that heart beacon be a light. We need to be beacons of wholeness, beacons that enlighten the experiences that people have, that we have. The thing which brings us down every time is the need to explain logically, rather than allowing the vastness to be a mystery. Sagittarius moves about with the mystery at its back, not perhaps seeing it, but just knowing that there's something else, something that can't be explained, but that is truly wonderful. And the attempt is constantly to rise and rise up the mountain, get a bigger picture and an even bigger picture. Uranus suggests that we will be free to have these thoughts this month. And as the square relationship is to Chiron, we need to let ourselves rise up. And of course, the groundedness, which we also must hold on to, is represented by Venus in Capricorn and Mars in Virgo in trine aspect to each other. They maintain this trine aspect for quite a while. And in the chart itself, so at the beginning of this month, Mercury is sextiling Mars. Mars goes into Libra very quickly in the coming few days. Mercury will move into Sagittarius itself. So this flavour, it's there in its fullness at the beginning of the month, but shifts quite quickly into something much more upbeat. So what it is that we're focused on, and perhaps is the background in relationship terms for this month, is that sense of trying to understand how responsibility operates in relationships. The chart itself is suggesting that we're trying to get it right, we're trying to make it right for people. And the Mercury in Scorpio is suggesting that we're looking at the really deep problems, trying to get them right, feeling responsible, and consequently very guilty about trying to be happy. So it's important to begin that appreciation of what responsibility really is. There is tough love, there is conditional love, not at all the same. And with Jupiter opposite Venus in Cancer, the suggestion is that it's family situations that are going to be the testing ones, responsibility within a family. Jupiter makes a beautiful trine aspect to Saturn, and this continues throughout the month. So there's a sense of manifesting generosity that is really supportive. The important thing about supporting others is that it be from a position of love that is freely given. There may be boundaries to what is given. Saturn ensures that with its connection to Jupiter, who would just give anyway. But Saturn will show us what's good and what is too much and where to draw the lines. But the lines need to be drawn by what is valuable, what works in the world, what is needed, truly needed, by not only the receiver but also the giver. People often draw lines to achieve a certain reaction in the person that they are giving to, and this is where tough love becomes conditional love. So let the love be given freely, but the actions be appropriate. By the time we get to the full moon on the 17th of December, Mars is well into Libra and moving forward to opposing Uranus and squaring Pluto, who is still sextiling Chiron. So Mars moves into a position of being quite awkward. In a sense, the tug between what to give, to do in the relationship and needing freedom for oneself becomes rather difficult. It can become difficult. With Mercury in Sagittarius approaching the Sun, and the Moon, of course, being in Gemini opposite the Sun at that time, that second half of this month looks set well for communication. So the important thing, I think, is to hang in with the communication, no matter what the feelings are, not to blast out, not to separate, until there is agreement or at least an understanding, a comfortableness between people. It's that old idea of never going to bed on a quarrel. The Mars in Libra means that our motivation is to bring peace and harmony. It is a motivation towards justice. And as long as we don't fight for peace, it works very well in giving us a measure of hesitation before we act. there is also in it an uncertainty, which is never a bad thing, because how do we know we're right? What is right anyway? We do have to act, but we need to let it settle, ideas to gel, things to become clear. It takes time before we actually act. So we may find ourselves having to smooth over the waters that we ourselves have just troubled. And this can be done with humour and warmth, with that beautiful Sagittarian emphasis. The next new moon will be on the 1st of January 2014. So this new moon takes us right into the end of the year. There is more in the letter on my website. And I wish you all the best. You are enough, just as you are. Perhaps you're tired or feeling some pain. Be tender to your body for your spirit's sake. Take good care of yourself for your greater self. Love flows eagerly through the spaces between worried cells, washing away the past, relaxing tension, healing wounds, bringing you into the present like a gift. You are a present to the world. Enjoy yourself.